different culture, under a different tradition, under different experiences. Are those experiences going to work for you in Malawi or not? So, even when you find answers in the literature, but those answers may need to be adjusted for Malawi. So you could say, okay, others found this to be the solution, but I'm not sure whether this is going to be a solution under my own situation. So I will investigate. And in my investigation, I'll use their experiences to see whether they work under my own situation. Making sense? So that's one source of problems. I'm sure when you reach that point, you will shake your head, hey, where should my research come from? But one possibility is that. Another source is deduction from theory. We've talked a lot about deductive reasoning. If you critically study the literature that is existing in your own discipline, you are likely to find situations where people have conducted research on particular issues. And as you are studying the research they have done, they have also come up with gaps. You may find situations where person A conducted research in a particular area and came up with his findings or her findings. Person B went further from that research and he added the findings of person A with the other solutions. Person C built his research based on these two other people and also made findings. But there is nobody else who has conducted research to find something which these people have not studied. And you are pressing your work to go beyond what your colleagues have done by reflecting at other things that may need reflection on. Of course, that requires a lot of thinking, and that's why I'm saying deducting from theory. In your disciplines, there are a lot of theories, but as we were discussing the issue of theory, theory is generalization from isolated observations. Now, those generalizations do not cover each and every aspect in the class of objects you are studying. They generalize the isolated studies to come up with a general statement. And in that general statement, there are many gaps which you can fit your own work. If somebody conducted a study in Machinga and found that elephants in Rwanda National Park, being mammals, are warm-blooded animals. Somebody did a study at Bunda as an agriculturalist interested in cattle, and cattle being mammals, also found that they are warm-blooded. Somebody else conducted a study in Nchinji, interested in goats, and goats being warm mammals, found also that goats are warm-blooded animals. Now, a theorist would generalize from that to say all mammals are warm-blooded animals. And he's generalizing on the basis that each and every mammal that has been studied is warm-blooded. But that does not mean that all mammals have been studied. So the theory itself has gaps. Establish yourself quietly. Don't disturb the others. The fact that one scientist studied the elephants, the other scientist studied the goats, the other scientist studied the cattle, and the one who is coming up with the theory is generalizing based on these three groups of mammals. Does not mean that all our mammals have been studied. Lions are not included. Okay? Sheep are not included. Leopards have not been included. So those are gaps in the theory. But for you to identify those gaps, it means you have to read the theory critically and follow up what has been done. If you don't understand your own theory, there is no way you can deceive yourself to say, I will be able to come up with a problem statement. But you, and especially you in academia, are supposed to demonstrate your ability to read in your own disciplines, critically look at your own theories and identify gaps in those theories, gaps which can place you in a position to come up with problem statements. So, for example, elephants have been studied, cattle has been studied, goats have been studied, but pigs have not been studied. And if you find that in the theory the generalization was based on these three species, you can go ahead and say, I'm going to study pigs to see whether they are also warm-blooded animals. If you study pigs and you find that they are warm-blooded animals, what will you be doing? You will be confirming the theory. You'll be contributing to the knowledge associated with that particular theory. Okay? Questions? So another source of research problems is the deduction from theory. One thing I'm saying in between the lines is that you people should, if you have never liked reading, now is the time to start liking reading. You need to read. Because you cannot do this unless you read it, unless you understand your own theories. Yeah. Similarly, review of previous research can also help you to generate some problems. In most cases, people will go out to say, I'm going to conduct research to find this. And when they conduct the research, they will find answers to what they were looking for. But in the research itself, they will also have generated other questions, which they end up saying, yes, my interest was to find this information. But in the process of finding this information, I have found that there is other information which needs to be generated, which is not yet known. And if you are reading other people's research, one area you should go to for searching for research problems is go to the conclusions section, and especially the recommendations section of the research reports. Normally, that section is divided in two sections. The first section will be recommendations for development. You remember we said that when you are doing research, you start with a developmental problem, and then you go to research because there is information which is required to help you solve the developmental problem. So when the researcher has generated his information, the one recommendation is going back to the development problem. Say, I have found the information which was lacking if you are to solve this development problem. I'm therefore recommending you, development specialists, to use this information in solving the development problem. So that's one set of recommendations you will normally find in research reports. The second set of recommendations you will normally find will be, I have generated this information, but in the process of generating this information, I have also discovered that there is this new set of information which is not yet known. I am therefore recommending other researchers to investigate this aspect. And when you come up with that, it's a problem which has just been given to you, handed to you, and you can say, oh, okay, based on the recommendation of person A, there is this knowledge gap. He conducted research and found this. But nobody has done research to find this other aspect. I am therefore going to conduct my research in order to generate this knowledge, which was recommended by other researchers. That making sense? Another possible source of problems when you are reading previous research is to go into their methodologies. Researchers, sometimes they will propose a methodology. Say, this is the methodology I will use to generate information to answer my objectives or to answer my hypothesis. And sometimes they do that and discover that the methodology itself is not the best methodology. So they have not generated what they wanted to generate. You also find a recommendation to say others should use other methodologies to investigate this problem. And that is another opportunity for you to conduct research. And in that research, you will need a lot of thinking. This guy proposed in his research, did experimental research, and it didn't work. Maybe you need to do a different type of design to be able to come up with the answers which are being required. So the methodologies can also be an opportunity for conducting research. All that coming from previous research. So we have looked at three possible opportunities for you to get the research problems. Deduction from theory, experiences from practice, previous research. They are all opportunities to help you come up with the research problems. So this, I'm just explaining what I was saying in the previous slide. If you look at the previous research, you can generate problems from that. If you look at what others have done in the past, you can be able to say, oh, okay, A conducted research and found this, found X. B conducted research beyond what A found, and he also found Y as an explanation. C conducted research based on what these two found, and he came up with a W as his finding. But nobody has conducted research to find Z. So you are just going beyond, and if you conduct research to find the Z, you'll be building on this to make it a full story. X, Y, Z. Okay? So when you are studying other people's work, other people's research reports, they can give you opportunity for coming up with the appropriate problem statements. Questions? Obviously, these things I've talked about, whether you like it or not, one day you are going to meet them in your life here, and you'll be expected to do something. So don't just throw these slides away. You need them. The second aspect I would like to talk about is the factors you have to consider when choosing a problem to deal with in your research. As we said, the research is about generating knowledge and information. Right? So one crucial thing is that you must convince yourself that the research you are doing is going to help you to make a contribution to your own discipline. If you are an educationist, you should be seen to have generated the information, knowledge required in education to improve provision of education. If you are a social work specialist, you'll be expected to generate knowledge to contribute to the theories in social work, whether community development, business, economics. accounting, in all those disciplines, there are many things which are not yet known. And you must contribute to such knowledge which is required. So as I was discussing the sources of problems, when you're identifying the problem which you want to work with, that is an important point to consider whether the problem you are dealing with is going to make a contribution to knowledge in your discipline. Is going to make a contribution to science in your discipline. And how do you do that? Whatever source of problem, you should be able to go back to the literature to verify that there is lack of information. You remember, in terms of experience, we said that you may be doing something as a professional in your area of specialization, but some problems which you are dealing with, you don't seem to have an answer. And I said you go back to the literature first to identify whether there are other people who may have come up with solutions to the problem you're experiencing. If they came up with solutions, then you don't have a problem there. You go ahead. Or if you find that they came up with solutions, but maybe the conditions under which they were operating are slightly different from yours, then you'll be saying, was what they found going to work in my own situation? And that question is creating a gap in the theory. Because yes, the theory may be saying that there is a law of demand and supply. When supply is high, demand is low, prices go down. When supply is low, demand is high, prices go up. But under your own situation in the market at Pearson, is this true? So you can go and investigate that. Say, well, at the Pearson market, there are people who sell yams, and we don't know whether the supply of yams on the market does influence prices. Although in Nigeria, since Nigeria is a major consumer of yams, they have answers there. We don't know whether what they found there is true for Malawian conditions. If you study that, you'll be saying, oh yeah, I'm contributing to the theory. We didn't know whether this law is true for yams at Pearson market. And I've conducted a study. Yes, now I have an answer, and I'm contributing that answer to what has been obtained in the literature. Am I making sense? Quietness. Whatever source of your problem, you should question yourself. If you do that research, are you going to be contributing to the literature, to the knowledge in your discipline? So as you are stating the problem itself, you should place it in such a way that you are addressing a gap in the literature. You are addressing a gap of knowledge in your discipline. Things may have been known elsewhere, but under your condition, is the knowledge which is known applicable to your own situation? If it is not, then there's a gap. When you go out to conduct the research, You'll be saying, hey, what was found in China is also true in Malawi. What was found in South Africa is also true in Pearson, in Malawi. What was found in Idedza is true to Nchinji, because that's what I've found. That's what I'm trying to say in terms of experience. In terms of deducting from theory, that one there is straightforward. Yet, you first identified the gap in the theory, and then you are generating information to address that gap. When you address that gap, you are directly contributing to what was missing in the theory. Similarly, if you are doing it based on sources from other researchers, you are actually saying that these other researchers have unveiled information on X, Y, but they have not unveiled information on Z. So I'm going out to generate information on Z. Making sense? So one major factor you should consider when you are choosing a problem is that that problem should make a contribution to the organized body of knowledge in your discipline. You should be able to answer the question, so what? You conduct this research, so what? And the so what is looking for, what are you going to contribute? Okay? The problem should be one which will lead to other new problems. You remember I was saying earlier that another source of knowledge when you are reading previous research is people usually will conduct research and say, I went out to generate this information, but in the process, I've discovered there is also this information which is not known, and I'm recommending others to generate this information. So when you're conducting your research and you are generating data and information to answer your research questions, you should be asking yourself, what other questions may not have been answered before, needing more information? And as you are conducting your research, that becomes very obvious, but you have to be constantly thinking through your own work so that you could also come up with recommendations for further research. So the problems you do should generate questions for other studies. Person A conducted a study on elephants, which are mammals, and found that they are warm-blooded animals. B conducted the studies on cattle, which are mammals, and found that they are warm-blooded animals. C conducted the research on goats, which are mammals, and found that they are warm-blooded animals. I went out to conduct the research on dogs, which are mammals, because these others did not investigate dogs. And I have also found that dogs are what? Warm-blooded animals. But there is nobody who has conducted research on horses, which are also mammals. And we don't know whether they are all warm-blooded. Nobody has conducted research on lions, which are mammals, to test whether they are also warm-blooded. When you are asking those questions, you are actually creating opportunity for others to come up with problems based on your own study. And for you to be able to do so, you must have read it. Read, read, and read. Otherwise, we'll be saying, nobody has conducted the research on lions when there are so many research reports on lions, which are also warm-blooded animals, and found that you are recommending something which has been done by others. I ran out of my battery. A good research question. Why do computer batteries run out? Can we do research? Why can't we come up with batteries which don't run out of power? It's a developmental problem, isn't it? Running out of that, and you stop teaching in the middle. That's a developmental problem. Now the research gap. Why should they run out? Anybody who is an expert to do that kind of research, so we're saying a good research program should be one that leads to other problems while arriving to answers to your own problem. The research should also generate opportunity for questions which have not yet been addressed in science. Another factor, it seems there are more research problems here. Another factor you must consider is that a research program should render itself researchable. There are many problems we experience in life which are not researchable. They don't render themselves observable, or you cannot measure the variables involved. So the research problem you come up with, it should be one that you can make observations and come up with data to answer your problem. For one thing, this is where we're saying issues of value, issues of opinions may not be measure weight. Take the example of people in social work. They deal with communities very often, and most of the communities, one of the major problems in Malawi is poverty. And as a social worker, you want to address the issue of poverty. And as an expert, you might end up saying, let's provide assistance to the poor. That's a statement, Provide assistance to the poor. Or it is good for us to be providing assistance to the poor. But somebody else can turn around and say, if you give handouts to the poor, you are promoting laziness among them. You are promoting dependency among them. Encourage them to work hard to take care of themselves. And not, is that another good statement? Or another good opinion? But these two can go into argument. Yeah, it is better to give. No. It is better to encourage these people to work. You can't conduct research on those opinions. Okay? So a problem based on such things cannot be researchable. You can, on the other hand, conduct research on whether giving handouts helps people to move out of poverty. See, it's the same thing, but stated in a different way. Because now you can go out and provide the handouts to the people and assess whether the people who have been given handouts are getting out of poverty. And you can also turn around and say, no, let's not give them handouts. Let's help them, let's encourage them to work hard, and let's see whether they are getting out of poverty. So you come up with programs which will promote hard-working spirit, and you observe at the end whether that is helping people to improve their own living standards. But the opinions, it is good to give handouts. No, it is good to encourage people to work hard. They are not researchable. Okay? So make sure that the problems you come up with are stated in such a way that you can make observations. In this, I'm again using the term empirical evidence set, and I hope you understand when I'm using that. Evidence coming from actual observations. Oh, that's telling us that we should go for a break. Is it a research problem? Okay. Okay, we can go for 10 minutes break. Oh, sini waona kama maswera. Itu juga. Muri bwino sala.
Mwanga mujolaba. Mwanga muluga.
Ya.
Ndega mwira nabo.
Akaka.
Wangu kumugamela.
Modi memukula fa ubeka.
Ngosa
Kama yori kalika One additional thing I would like to say about the issue of is that in most cases, when you come up with a research program, you end up using terminologies which need operational definitions. Sometimes when you use a word, you think that everyone else will understand the way you understand this. If I said table, I'm sure that all of us are aware of what I'm talking about. And this is a table. This is a table. What about the one in the office? Is it a table? What about the one you sit around when you eat dinner? Is it a table? The one at the living room, that small one where we use for drinking coffee. Is it a table? So you realize that if you use the word table, people may be thinking of a classroom desk when you are talking about the dining table. People may be thinking about a coffee table when you are talking about an office table. So research, when you use the word, very often you require to find it operationally. If I was looking at the importance of having of students using tables in class, then I must define the type of table that we are talking about a just good students use. I'm not talking about a dining table. Now, in physical things like that, it's very easy to understand. But in the sort of studies you are going to be dealing with, which are social sciences, this is a very important concept. Some of you will end up using terminology such as motivation, anxiety, terminologies which require to be well. Now, the term motivation, if you go in it, you will find a good dictionary definition. But when you are going out to mention motivation, you may have to explain it in terms of the sort of operations you are going to conduct in order to measure motivation. Because motivation is not so easy to measure. Yeah. You have to use certain techniques to measure it. And the techniques you use as a researcher may not be the same techniques somebody else as a researcher will use to measure the same concept. Anxiety, for example, somebody can use people's behavior in terms of worries. If people show worries, and even the worries, how do you measure them? With the various ways to measure the concept of worry. So we have to define measuring anxiety in terms of students showing concern, showing a worry. If I'm teaching mathematics and then I tell the students that tomorrow you are going to sit an exam in mathematics, and then the students become anxious. How do I measure that anxiety? Maybe by looking at how worried they are. Somebody may say, no, some of the students who are talkative will become less talkative. Some of the students will be stressed. Those are all ways of measuring the same concept of anxiety. So, in your situation as a scientist, how are you going to measure it? You need to provide an operational definition. And an operational definition is in terms of the sort of operations you are going to conduct in order to measure the concept of interest you have. So that when you come up with the data, people should not say, oh, I thought you were doing this. They should know exactly what you did in order to come up with the data you have obtained. Making sense? Is it making sense? Yes. Okay. So when you are talking about the researchable, measurable, the variables you talk about must be measurable, and where you have to do specific operations in order to measure that variable, you need to define those in your report. When you come up with a problem statement, make sure that that problem statement is suitable to you as a researcher. A problem to do with the impact of teaching technique on student performance may not just necessarily be an appropriate problem for an accounts personnel. The accounts person has been trained on issues of accounting, and his or her research problem can best be in the area of accounting. That's where he or she will know how to work on that. This one about the student performance versus teaching technique, and educated person would be more concerned with that, because it is more suitable to him or her. He or she has skills on how to measure that. The accounts person has skills on how to measure issues about accounting. So it should be suitable to you. You are students, and you are supposed to be here for 4 years. You have already spent 3 years now. And in the 4th year, you are supposed to do research, come up with results, analyze, and bring a report. So you only have one year. Some of the research problems will require you to stay for 5 years to collect the data in order for you to come up with good results. Would that be an appropriate research problem for you? No. Look for a problem which can be done within the time you have. Some of the research problems will require $1 million for you to come up with the equipment to measure the variables you want to measure, for you to be able to put in place the protocols for doing your research, and you have only 50,000 departure for your research. Is that research problem suitable to you? No. So look for research programs in which you have this knowledge and skills to conduct the investigations, in which you have the resources for you to do that kind of research. Any cases? So it must be, this is another thing that you also talk about. It must also be of interest to you. You know, very often when you're conducting research, you go through ups and downs. There are times when the work can be frustrating, but you must have enough interest to carry you on. Even at the point where you are most frustrated, you should still have the energy to continue. So choose topics which are going to be of interest to you, which will keep you going, will keep you motivated until you finish your research. Questions? How do we state problems? When you have come up with a problem, you need to present it in a way that it should be clear to everybody who reads that problem. It should be stated clearly, showing what is going to be studied, what is to be determined, what is to be solved. And that requires definition of essential terms. When I was talking about the operational definitions, is important here. The variables you mention in your problem statement must be defined clearly.